First contact gone wrong. High Admiral Vexthor of the Kraxan Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crystal Spear, studying the holographic display of human colonial space with barely concealed disdain. The supposedly primitive species had spread themselves thin, establishing colonies across dozens of systems with minimal defenses. It was almost insulting how carelessly they had expanded, relying on nothing but basic shield technology and chemical propulsion systems. High Admiral, his senior analyst Kyra spoke up, her crystalline features reflecting the soft blue light of the tactical displays. I must once again express my concerns about the inconsistencies in our intelligence regarding human technological development. Vexthor's secondary breathing chambers fluttered in annoyance. Kira had been raising these same concerns ever since they'd begun planning the subjugation of human space. Your concerns are noted, Analyst Kyra, but the evidence is clear. Look at their ships, barely more than pressurized metal cans with fusion drives. Their most advanced vessels would struggle to match our civilian transports. That's precisely my concern, sir, Kyra persisted, pulling up historical data on her console. Their technological progression doesn't follow any pattern we've seen before. They went from primitive chemical rockets to lunar landings in less than a century. Then their advancement just stopped. It's as if they deliberately. Enough. Vexthor's voice echoed across the bridge, causing several junior officers to flinch. Your obsession with human entertainment media and conspiracy theories is becoming tiresome. They are a young species that simply reached the limits of their capabilities. The Council has approved this operation, and we will proceed as planned. In the back of the bridge, Kyra quietly added another note to her personal database. Humans have a saying. If something seems too good to be true, it probably is. I fear we're about to learn why they're so fond of that phrase. On Earth, in a facility that officially didn't exist beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Sarah Chen watched multiple holographic displays tracking the Kraxan fleet's movements. The aliens weren't even trying to hide their approach, confident in their perceived technological superiority. It would have been amusing if they weren't about to attack human colonies. Status of Project Guardian? She asked, her voice calm despite the gravity of the situation. All systems are green, General, Colonel James Rodriguez reported, his dark eyes reflecting the glow of the tactical displays. Guardian facilities on all colonial worlds are ready for activation. The Kraxan don't suspect a thing. Chen nodded, studying the massive holographic representation of human space. For 50 years, humanity had maintained the greatest deception in its history. They had hidden their true technological capabilities, presenting a facade of minimal advancement, while secretly preparing for exactly this scenario. Every human colony had been built above vast underground complexes housing advanced defensive systems and automated manufacturing facilities. Every seemingly primitive human ship contained technology far beyond anything the Kraxan could imagine. They really think we're defenseless, Rodriguez mused, watching the Kraxan fleet split into attack groups. All those years of maintaining outdated technology in plain sight, all those carefully orchestrated failed experiments. It worked better than we ever imagined. Humans have always excelled at deception, Chen replied, a slight smile playing across her features. Ever since first contact, we knew this day would come. Some aggressive species would eventually mistake our patience for weakness. She straightened her uniform, eyes hardening as new alerts appeared on the tactical display. And now they're about to learn why every human child knows the story of the sleeping dragon. The Kraxan attack began precisely as their tactical simulations had predicted. Their ships emerged from hyperspace above the human colonies, weapons already charging. To their sensors, the colonies appeared exactly as expected. Minimal orbital defenses, basic shield technology, and scattered ground-based weapon emplacements that posed no threat to their advanced ships. On New Eden, the largest human colony, Governor Marcus Zhang calmly sipped his tea as the first Kraxan warnings came through, demanding immediate surrender. Around him, his staff maintained their positions, showing none of the panic the aliens would have expected from a primitive species facing superior technology. "Should I respond to their demands, sir?" his communications officer asked, fighting to hide a smile. Zhang set down his cup with deliberate care. "No need, Lieutenant. Let's show them how we respond to uninvited guests." He pressed his palm against the DNA reader on his chair, speaking clearly. "Authorization. Sleeping Dragon Protocol. Phase 1. Wake the Guardians." Deep beneath the colony's surface, vast chambers that had been hidden for decades began to power up. Advanced AI systems that had been pretending to be simple computers flexed their full capabilities, and in hangars carefully shielded from all known forms of detection, ships that would redefine the Kraxan understanding of advanced technology prepared for launch. The deception was over. The dragons were awakening. The sleeping giant. High Admiral Vexthor's victory speech died in his throat as the first reports of anomalies began flooding the bridge of the Crystal Spear. His attack fleet had divided perfectly according to plan, striking 12 human colonies simultaneously. Everything had gone exactly as the simulations predicted, until the ground opened up. "Sir, we're detecting massive energy signatures from New Eden," his sensor officer reported, voice cracking with disbelief. "They're coming from underground." Before Vexthor could respond, the seemingly defenseless human colony transformed. Massive hangar doors disguised as natural rock formations slid open across the planet's surface. Defense platforms that had been masquerading as primitive communication arrays shed their camouflage, revealing weapon systems that made his tactical officers recoil. And from the depths of the planet emerged ships, real warships, not the primitive vessels humans had paraded around for decades. "Impossible," he breathed, watching as the first wave of human defenders took flight. Their ships moved with impossible grace, their hulls covered in patterns that seemed to bend light itself. Their technology, they couldn't have hidden this. Actually, a new voice cut through their command channel. "Hiding things is something of a human specialty." The holographic display shifted to show Governor Zhang, looking remarkably untroubled for someone whose colony was supposedly under attack. "Though I have to admit, maintaining this facade for 50 years was quite an achievement. Do you know how hard it is to pretend you don't know how to build proper quantum drives?" On Earth, General Chen watched with satisfaction as similar reports came in from all the attacked colonies. Project Guardian had exceeded even their most optimistic projections. The Kraxan fleet, expecting to find helpless victims, had instead run headlong into humanity's real military capabilities. "All Guardian facilities report successful activation," Colonel Rodriguez announced, unable to hide his grin. "The Kraxan are attempting to regroup, but their sensors can't seem to handle our actual tech level. Funny how that happens when you jump from fake fusion drives to quantum manifold engines." Chen nodded, studying the tactical displays. 50 years of playing technological possum, and they never once questioned why a species that went from propeller aircraft to moon landings in 6 decades suddenly stopped advancing. She keyed in her command codes, initiating the next phase of humanity's response. "Signal the Soul Defense Fleet. It's time to show them why we named our military program after mythological creatures." Deep within Jupiter's atmosphere, where no conventional sensors could penetrate, humanity's real fleet stirred to life. Ships that dwarfed anything the Kraxan had ever built began their emergence sequence, their quantum drives spinning up to full power. At their head, the flagship Leviathan prepared to reveal just how far humanity had actually advanced, while hiding behind a carefully maintained facade of primitive technology. Back on New Eden, Governor Zhang was rather enjoying himself. The Kraxan ships in orbit were frantically trying to adapt to weapons and defenses they hadn't believed possible, much less expected from a primitive species. Their crystalline hulls, so beautiful and advanced by their standards, were proving remarkably vulnerable to quantum-phased weapons. "You know," he addressed the increasingly panicked Kraxan commanders, "we have this wonderful old story about a mouse that everyone thought was helpless, until it turned out to be a dragon in disguise. We always did enjoy our metaphors. On the crystal sphere, analyst Kyra finally allowed herself a small smile as she watched humanity's true capabilities unfold across multiple star systems. "High Admiral," she said quietly, "I believe this would be an excellent time to remember another human saying. Don't poke the sleeping dragon." Counterpunch. Fleet Admiral Helena Santos stood on the bridge of the Leviathan, watching the Kraxan fleet's desperate attempts to regroup with a mixture of satisfaction and professional disappointment. For decades, humanity had prepared for this moment, developing technologies and strategies specifically designed to counter known alien capabilities. The fact that the Kraxan had so readily fallen for their deception was almost anticlimactic. "Status report," she commanded, her voice carrying the weight of authority earned through years of commanding humanity's hidden fleet. "The Kraxan are attempting to coordinate their forces," her tactical officer reported, "but their command systems are proving susceptible to our AI interfaces. Apparently, they never considered the need to defend against quantum-level cyber warfare." Santos nodded, studying the holographic battle display. Across human space, the carefully orchestrated facade of technological inadequacy was being stripped away. Colonial defense forces were demonstrating capabilities that the Kraxan had believed impossible, while the main fleet's emergence from Jupiter had thrown their entire tactical doctrine into chaos. "You have to admire the thoroughness of our deception," her XO, Commander David Chen, remarked. "Every failed experiment in quantum physics, every primitive fusion drive, every basic defense system, all carefully designed to hide our real capabilities. Humans have always understood the value of appearing harmless," Santos replied, watching as another Kraxan squadron discovered the hard way that human ships could phase through their impenetrable shields. "Even our children's stories teach this lesson. The sleeping dragon, the hidden warrior, the unexpected hero." On the crystal sphere, High Admiral Vexthor was experiencing what humans would call an existential crisis. His mighty fleet, pride of the Kraxan Empire, was being systematically dismantled by technology that shouldn't exist. Ships that had been hiding under gas giants, weapons that ignored their best defenses, and AI systems that made their most advanced computers look like children's toys. "Status of the colony attacks," he demanded, clinging to whatever authority he had left. "All attack forces report complete failure, sir," his communications officer replied, scales pale with shock. "The humans, they're not just defending. They're capturing our ships intact. Their AI systems are simply taking control of our networks as if our security didn't exist." 50 years, analyst Kyra mused aloud, watching the disaster unfold. "They spent 50 years letting us think we were superior, learning our weaknesses, developing countermeasures we never imagined necessary. And we never once asked why a species that mastered nuclear physics in less than a century suddenly stopped advancing." Back on Earth, in the real command center hidden beneath the carefully maintained fiction of primitive military leadership, General Chen was coordinating the final phases of humanity's response. The holographic displays showed the true scope of Project Guardian, not just hidden fleets and advanced weapons, but a complete military infrastructure that had been developed in secret while the world maintained a convincing facade of technological limitation. "All colonies report successful containment of Kraxan forces," Colonel Rodriguez announced. "The capture systems are working better than expected. Their ships never even realized their quantum signatures were being mapped and duplicated." Chen allowed herself a small smile. "Launch the second wave. Let's show them why every human colony was built above a quantum manufacturing facility." Across human space, more ships began emerging from hidden facilities, vessels that had been manufactured during the battle itself, using technology the Kraxan hadn't believed possible. Each colony, supposedly defended by nothing more than basic shields and chemical rockets, revealed itself to be a fully equipped military production center. On New Eden, Governor John watched the Kraxans' reactions to this latest revelation with undisguised amusement. "You know," he broadcast to the increasingly demoralized enemy fleet, There's an old human saying about assumptions, though in this case I suppose "don't judge a book by its cover" might be more appropriate. The Leviathan's quantum drives hummed with power as it moved to engage the crystal sphere directly. Fleet Admiral Santos opened a channel to High Admiral Vexthor, her expression professionally neutral despite the satisfaction she felt. "Your forces are surrounded, your technological advantages have been neutralized, and your tactical doctrine has been rendered obsolete," she stated calmly. "We've spent half a century preparing for this moment, developing technologies specifically designed to counter anything you might throw at us. Now shall we discuss surrender terms, or would you prefer to see what else we've been hiding?" The Art of Deception. 20 years earlier, Dr. Emma Chen, no relation to the current general, stood before the United Earth Defense Council, presenting what would become the cornerstone of humanity's greatest deception. The holographic displays around her showed carefully crafted failures in quantum physics research, deliberately flawed spacecraft designs, and meticulously planned technological dead ends. The key to Project Guardian's success, she explained to the assembled leaders, isn't just hiding our true capabilities. It's making our apparent limitations seem natural and believable. Every failed experiment, every technological setback, must tell a story that other species will want to believe. The council chamber itself was a masterpiece of misdirection. To alien observers, it appeared to be a primitive facility using basic holographic technology. In reality, it housed quantum computing systems that made their most advanced AI look like pocket calculators. "We've successfully convinced the galactic community that humans are struggling with basic fusion containment," a council member noted, "while we're actually manufacturing quantum drive cores in facilities beneath Jupiter's clouds." "Precisely," Emma smiled. "The best deception isn't just about hiding the truth. It's about presenting a more attractive alternative. The galaxy wants to believe we're just another young species struggling to advance, so we give them exactly what they expect to see." Present day. On the bridge of the Crystal Spear, High Admiral Vexthor watched in stunned silence as more human ships emerged from supposedly primitive colonies. Each vessel represented a technology that his people had believed impossible, or at least centuries beyond human capability. "Show me the historical records," he commanded, desperation creeping into his voice. "Show me how we missed this." Analyst Kyra brought up file after file, each one revealing the stunning depth of human deception. Failed fusion experiments that had actually been covers for quantum power research. Primitive orbital defense platforms that concealed phase-shift weapon systems. Colony ships that looked crude on the outside but contained technology that made Craxan engineering look prehistoric. "Look at their entertainment media," Kyra pointed out. "All those stories about hidden dragons, about seeming weak until the moment of truth. They weren't just telling stories. They were laughing at everyone who underestimated them." On the Leviathan, Fleet Admiral Santos reviewed reports from across human space with satisfaction. 50 years of preparation were paying off exactly as planned. Every colony had successfully activated its hidden defenses. Every concealed facility was operating at full capacity, and the Craxan fleet was learning some very expensive lessons about appearances versus reality. "You know what the truly impressive part is," Commander Chen mused, watching the tactical displays. "Not just the technology we hid, but how we hid it. Every apparent failure was carefully planned. Every seeming limitation was meticulously crafted. We turned our entire civilization into a galactic-scale deception operation." In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Chen accessed files that no alien species had ever seen. The true history of human technological development after first contact. The quantum physics breakthroughs that had been disguised as failed experiments. The AI developments hidden behind a facade of basic computer systems. The manufacturing capabilities concealed beneath every human colony. "Show them the Titan facility," she commanded. The holographic display shifted to show a massive construction complex hidden within Saturn's largest moon. Here, far from prying eyes, humanity had built the ships that would redefine galactic warfare. The Kraxan are requesting an explanation, Colonel Rodriguez reported, amusement clear in his voice. They want to know how we managed this level of deception for so long. Send them the orientation package, Chen ordered with a slight smile. The one we prepared for the first species that actually tested our defenses. They've earned the right to understand just how thoroughly they were deceived. Across human space, the carefully maintained facade continued to fall away. Colonial defense forces revealed capabilities that redefined what the Kraxan thought possible. Hidden manufacturing facilities began producing ships that shouldn't exist. And beneath every human settlement, vast complexes of advanced technology emerged from decades of careful concealment. On New Eden, Governor John watched the Kraxan fleet's disarray with satisfaction. "You have to admire the elegance of it," he remarked to his staff. "We didn't just hide our capabilities. We made our weakness so convincing that no one ever thought to look deeper. Sometimes the best place to hide a dragon is in plain sight. Never underestimate." High Admiral Vexthor stood in the command center of the Leviathan, surrounded by technology that shouldn't exist, feeling the weight of his civilization's arrogance crush down upon him. The human ships around his captured fleet bore little resemblance to the primitive vessels they had expected to find. Their hulls rippled with quantum field effects that his best scientists had declared impossible, while their weapon systems casually ignored defenses that the Kraxan had believed impenetrable. "You're probably wondering how we maintained this deception for so long," Fleet Admiral Santos remarked, studying the defeated admiral with professional interest. "How we convinced everyone that we were struggling with basic fusion drives while building quantum manifold engines. How we hid entire fleets in gas giants while presenting a facade of primitive orbital platforms." "Why?" Vexthor managed to ask. "Why go to such lengths to appear weak?" "Because," Santos smiled, "humanity learned its hardest lessons early. Our own history taught us that appearing powerful often makes you a target, while appearing weak gives you time to prepare. We knew that sooner or later, someone would mistake our patience for vulnerability." On Earth, General Chen was addressing the United Earth Defense Council, now showing its true face as one of the most advanced military command centers in known space. The holographic displays showed the full scope of humanity's victory, captured Kraxan ships, secured colonies, and the complete validation of Project Guardian's core concept. "The Kraxan Empire has formally surrendered," she announced. "Their fleet is contained, their leadership is coming to terms with their new reality, and their analysts are having what I believe humans once called an existential crisis as they review our actual technological capabilities." "And the broader galactic community?" a council member asked. Reacting exactly as predicted, Colonel Rodriguez reported with a grin. "The revelation that a supposedly primitive species was actually hiding technology centuries ahead of current standards is causing quite a stir. Several major powers have already reached out to revise their diplomatic standings with Earth." In orbit around New Eden, Governor John watched as human engineering teams began examining the captured Kraxan vessels. The supposedly advanced alien ships looked almost quaint now, their crystalline technology a reminder of how thoroughly humanity had upended the galaxy's technological hierarchy. "You know what the truly ironic part is?" he mused to his staff. "We actually learned more from pretending to be primitive than we would have from showing our real capabilities. Every time someone underestimated us, we gained new insights into their technology, their tactics, their weaknesses." Back on the Leviathan, Santos was explaining humanity's new position to the assembled Kraxan leadership. The massive ship's quantum core hummed with power that their sensors still couldn't properly measure, a constant reminder of how thoroughly they had been deceived. "Humanity has no interest in conquest," she stated firmly. "What we want is peace, but peace secured by the understanding that we are not, and never were, helpless. Your attack on our colonies has simply moved up our timeline for revealing our true capabilities." "And now?" Analyst Kyra asked, her scientific curiosity overcoming her shock. "Now that the deception is over." "Now," Santos smiled, "we show the galaxy what humanity can really do when we don't have to hide anymore." Those primitive colonies you targeted, they're actually advanced research and manufacturing centers. Those basic ships we've been flying, they were deliberately designed to look obsolete. The real ones. She gestured at a holographic display showing new vessels emerging from Saturn's rings. Well, you're about to see why humans have so many stories about sleeping giants. In the depths of the Rocky Mountain facility, General Chen reviewed the final reports from across human space. Project Guardian had succeeded beyond their most optimistic projections. The Kraxan fleet had been contained with minimal casualties. Their technology had been completely outmatched, and humanity's position in the galaxy had been irrevocably transformed. "Send the signal," she ordered. "It's time to wake all the dragons." Across human territory, more hidden facilities began to reveal themselves. Research centers that had been masquerading as primitive outposts showed their true nature. Manufacturing complexes that had been hiding in gas giants and asteroid fields began producing ships that redefined what was possible. And in every human colony, the carefully maintained facade of technological limitation finally fell away. The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had so many stories about dragons in disguise, about hidden strength, about the danger of underestimating the quiet ones. The deception was over. The dragons were awake, and they had so much to show the galaxy. The end.